crazy. I hope people haven't taking the time. As I just mentioned, it still surprises me that people make this a priority on a Monday afternoon when we all have way too much on our plates and way too much to do. I don't have the most. I'm not very excited about my PowerPoint this month. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot of words, but we'll go through it, and certainly want to leave time at the end for questions, because I know seemingly there are always questions out there, and again, want to be able to address anything that we can or find answers for you. If we can't right now, we will certainly get to that. So with that, welcome everybody. Welcome to March. Welcome to March 1. I can't believe it. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. Feel like this is always the funnest part of the day, because I get to see whether I know technology or not. I feel like it and I are still trying to learn each other. So with that, hopefully everybody can see my first slide. Now I need to be able to see you all so I can get some affirmation. Everybody see my title slide? Yes, good, thank you. I just advanced it. It's National Peanut Butter Day. Everybody see that? Good, thank you. Appreciate people's, I had no idea it was National Peanut Butter Day, but this is a fun fact about Hannah. My mother took me to the pediatrician when I was 2 years old because all I would eat was peanut butter. The pediatrician said she will be fine if that's what she wants to eat. Don't worry about it. But this is my treat for after Extension Connections today. I try to reward myself, and I will do so with a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup because I do still love peanut butter. So happy National Peanut Butter Day. Really, my intent for today, I know it's only been 3 weeks since our last Extension Connection because it was delayed a week, but there still was a lot happening in February, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then really focus on March because even more is going to happen in March. There's a lot going on, and certainly then talk about any COVID updates. And then, as I mentioned, hopefully leave time at the end for questions. I do have a couple just general things right now. I don't know any more about our FY22 budget than I did at our last Extension Connection. So I don't have any sort of budget update. We haven't gotten any numbers. We haven't even gotten any ideas of, yes, there's going to be a reduction. No, there's not. So I feel like stay tuned for that. If you had questions, we just don't have any additional information at this point in time. All right, so happy COVID-versary. I don't know if that's a thing, but it's March, and I went back to my email, and this is the very first email I sent in regards to the novel coronavirus. I sent it on March 10th last year, and what I love is, at this time, there's no restrictions on public gatherings. There's no requirement to cancel school or social events. It's been a year, and it's just holy mackerel. In a lot of ways, I'm sure you all feel the same way. It feels like it's been 10 years in this 1 year, and then in another way, feels like it was just not too long ago that we began sending emails out. I love this. Please know that we'll be sending out information as we receive it. There may be an increased number of emails. That certainly happened. And yeah, we know a lot more than we did, but we're still, after a year, when I think we all thought, oh, after a month, we'll be back to normal. It's so interesting if we go back and we think about like the evolution of, or summertime, everything will be back to normal. And then the fact that we've been through 4 seasons of this, to me, is pretty mind-boggling. And again, I just really, I've said this so many times, but wow, we've done it, and we've done it together, and we've done it phenomenally. And so thank you all again for everybody's attention to being safe, taking care of one another. I was reminded of that. We had an occasion yesterday that I needed to be in touch with the University of Maine Emergency Operations Center, and I thanked them very much because we needed some pretty quick information. And I was reminded by text message, you know what, we just take care of each other, and that's what we do here in Extension 2. So thank you for that. I think it was important because I know I've been talking about this with other groups. Certainly we talk about it in our dean's group when we meet. on Friday, the president's call was really around how faculty and staff are coping with working under these conditions for the last year. And it's been hard on everybody. And I don't discount what anybody has had to go through. And I don't think we say, oh, so-and-so has it harder or easier or anything like that. It's just been darn hard across the board. So I pulled this from the American Red Cross because I feel like they're a pretty good source of information. And they posted this, and I have the link, and I'll share these PowerPoint slides with you all. But in January, they had this article around how to cope with COVID in almost a year. This was in January. But I just kind of put it there as a reminder, because I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I tend to forget, and I just fall back into bad habits or old habits. And we've got to remind ourselves that, again, it's certainly been a marathon, not a sprint. And we need to remind ourselves. I think a couple things, and again, just pulling it, I don't need to read this to you all, but I am taking a Facebook hiatus the month of March, because I realize as we think about the things that bring joy in our lives, it's not Facebook right now, it's Instagram, because those are cute puppy pictures and kid pictures and all those fun things and whatnot. But man, it can be overwhelming. Just so it's been interesting, because I've kind of pulled away from a bunch of social media and a bunch of news stories, just because we live this constantly. We don't, I think, need to fill up our free time with it. I think, again, I'm going to continue to say this, is take care of yourself. We need to remember that. I really appreciate our mindfulness meetups. Those are still occurring. Again, think about remembering to eat healthy, drink plenty of water, get enough rest. I was doing really well until about January, and my eating habits came back to being about a 12-year-old. And my major food groups, please, the nutrition folks, don't judge me, but it came down to Doritos and sour gummy worms and Pop-Tarts. I'm not proud, but I survived, and I'm doing better now. I think another thing to remember is, again, patience. And that's mostly being patient with yourself, and again, being patient with those around us. We don't know what everybody else, the burdens that they are carrying. And I think that's really important. And it's very easy, and I know this personally too, it's very easy to get a short fuse because we're all overtired, we're overburdened, we're stressed. And again, just to take that deep breath. What are you rewarding yourself with? And again, we had a wonderful, throughout last year, talked about, what does bring you joy? What are you doing? And again, still remember this. I'm excited that, yes, winter may be mostly behind us. I know we're still going to get a good dose of it possibly in the next 24 hours or so, but I know people are looking forward to spring gardening and getting outdoors. And all of that. So again, these are all things but I would be remiss if I didn't start with reminding you of these things after a year into this pandemic. So February, again, February, for the shortest month, man, it was a lot. I'm sure you all know that as well. I just highlighting a few things here that have been taking up a lot of my time. And I'm going to say this blanket, if you're waiting for an email response from me, I promise I will get to you. But last week, my email, I just lost all control, and I'm slowly trying to dig myself out, but it's a slow process. And I think this is why, because of this February slide. A couple things to highlight on this. Number one, I was asked to participate in the UMaine Space Committee, which is really important when you think about extension space and facilities across the state. And so to sit on the committee that makes decisions in regards to space and allocation of space and property and land and buildings and all of that, I've learned a great deal, but man, it's also been, this new committee is newly formed, and Joanne Yastrzemski, who's the new budget and financial VP, is the chair of this committee. So it's also getting to know her and her leadership style as well. This committee meets weekly and will continue to meet weekly, which is a lot. But again, there's a lot going on in regards to the University of Maine footprint across the state. And again, certainly extension plays a big role in that. As you all know, I shared with you, the Maine Question podcast came out on Thursday. If you want to hear President Farini Mundy say amazing things about extension, listen to it. My voice is horrible, and I apologize ahead of time. It's probably horrible on Zoom too. I will never be a radio broadcaster, but I thought they did a great job. And again, just it's awesome to hear the president talk so positively about extension. I have mentioned I'm the chair of the Graduate Business School Dean Search, which has been fascinating and a huge time commitment just because everybody seemingly who is interested in the job wants to meet with me for 30 minutes to talk about how wonderful they are. Kid you not. So those have been scheduled, and anyway, it's process. It's interesting. I look forward to the partnerships and the collaborations that will happen. But oh my gosh, I can't wait for it's over till it's over. I mentioned during the last Extension Connections was literally an hour after the Board of Ag meeting. The president did the State of the University address in February. I know a lot of you joined in, and again, big shout out to Kate Yerxa. A lot of stress to hold Extension on your shoulders, but I think you did an amazing job. It was wonderful that Extension was included and certainly mentioned in some of the comments that the president made. But I loved it. If you haven't tuned in, I encourage you to do so because I loved it wasn't the president talking for 45 minutes to an hour. It was really these snapshots of just responses to the pandemic and how different parts of the university pivoted and what they did. And again, big shout out to Kate for representing us so well. The President's DEI Council, which again had the report that was released in December, is continuing to work. So that wasn't the work of that group is not done in December because of the report. I'm still a part of that council. I mentioned they had their first, they have a speaker series that's happening. The first speaker was last week. There will be upcoming speakers. And there's also a lot of discussion happening on campus of the recommendations of that report and what that means. And so stay tuned to that because again, the president has made this a priority and certainly I think there's going to be implications certainly for extension as well. So I just want to make everybody aware that this work continues. On Friday, we had the 4-H Foundation spring meeting and it was a great way to end kind of the week and end the month just because it's a wonderful group of just dedicated folks who all come together to support Maine 4-H and again just a breath of fresh air. And so really value the work that Susan does and Angela does to support that 4-H Foundation board, and it's just fun to be a part of because you always just get to go report really good things and hear about really good things, and it's great that they are able to support 4-H in the camps as well as they do. We all know that summer programming guidance came out last week as well, which was awesome. But what was awesomer, which is a word, I may have just made it up, but that's okay. It's like leadership-y. Use as will. I think they both work. But what was awesomer about the UMS Programming Committee was that myself, Lisa Phelps, Ryder, and the camp directors were all part of the discussion. So we weren't being told what was going to happen for summer. We were part of the conversation, which is extraordinary. And I feel like after the first meeting, we may have held our breath a little bit because there was certainly, and it was the people who were part of that discussion and that group ranged all across the University of Maine system, and it ranged from all the different types of summer programming that happens. So it wasn't just UMaine specific, it was across the system. And there was very much a continuum of risk in this group. And there were some people who were like, we don't want to do anything in the summer. And then there were some of us, I think more towards the extension side of things, of let us do what we know we can do safely. Let us be able to do that. And for the most part, they are. And I think that's extraordinary. Now, again, there's still further guidance that needs to come out around testing and around some other areas, but at least it gives us an opportunity to plan for what the summer may look like. And I think that is a pretty awesome thing. We had a very long Dean's Council meeting in February. There's nothing really to report from an extension side of things other than just some minor things. Number one, the big topic of discussion here on campus is certainly student enrollment, again, budget implications, but the other big topic of conversation here on campus, which we don't have anything to do with, and I'm grateful for that, is this idea of unified accreditation. So again, it's something the system's going through, and it's gonna take a lot of bandwidth here on campus. So I'm happy we're not really worried about those discussions because they don't have anything to do with us in academic programs. But one of the other things that is much discussed is the ALFOND money. We all have heard the $200+ million. And again, I think there are going to be opportunities that extension will play a role in the ALFOND money. Our internship program certainly is one of those. And again, just thankful for that committee and the great work they've done. I think there's going to be some other opportunities. We just need to figure out how we fit. Part of also the Dean's Council meeting, they are in the process of interviewing 2 associate provost candidates, or I'm sorry, they're interviewing for 2 associate provost job openings. And so we've been a part of those candidate interviews. And again, people would think, well, that doesn't have anything to do with extension, but one of those associate provost roles is going to be around professional development, more so for faculty, but there will be some staff implications as well. And I think, again, having a person in there that understands and knows what extension is and again, what our mission is important. And it's fascinating to me when people interview and they're like, yeah, I don't know anything about extension. Oh, I'm filling out my evaluation as you speak when you say things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with those. As I mentioned before, the great work of our internship committee, we're hoping to finalize our forms and everything related to that. I think we actually have a really good pool of potential pilots. This is really an exciting opportunity and just something that has been a highlight and a bright spot for me through the fall and certainly in the work into the spring. 2 new things which are going to take up a good deal of bandwidth and are going to have a lot of implications with us in extension as well. The president convened a new normal committee because we all need more committees, but when she offers you a spot to be on an inaugural committee, you absolutely say yes. And so the new normal committee met last Thursday. And what it is the president really wanting to understand exactly what happened through COVID and how all aspects of the university extension included, and extension will be a big part of this, what we did, how we addressed things, how we pivoted. Certainly a lot of the work that our theme committees have done for the organizational conference will play a role in this, but I think there's going to be some more work to be done. And again, she wants to look at this campus wide, and so stay tuned because there may be some more opportunities to engage in that. But again, I'm thankful that she invited us to be part of the conversation. And the second thing is the Vaccination Education Committee, and I've referred to this a couple times in a couple different emails, but I think what's important a couple things that's important to note with this committee is, number one, we had our first meeting on Friday when the governor's announcement of the new age ranges came out. And so it was fascinating to be on Zoom when the news alert started and the conversation started and everybody sat back for a moment and just let it sink in, like there's a plan or there's an idea. And I'm not going to lie, from a personal standpoint, to me, I thought, oh, I'll be vaccinated maybe sometime this summer. But now it's maybe I'll be vaccinated by my birthday in May, which is just, I don't know. It was just a mental boost, I think. But it was interesting, too, to see the president and communications and everybody on the call, just you could see it across their faces start working on it. Like, oh, we may know better what's going to happen in the fall now when it comes to bringing students back on campus. We may know better because we may have an idea of who's been vaccinated and who hasn't. So that, number one, was very interesting. Number two is, again, I mentioned this, the CDC at the national level realized through some conversations there's this thing called cooperative extension across the country in rural communities and in areas all across the country. And if we want to talk about how to get people vaccinated, maybe we could somehow engage with extension. And so there's conversations in how that's going to happen and what that looks like. And there may be some funding that goes along with it. And so that's part of the conversation too, from a campus-wide level. Of course, they're thinking about vaccination campaigns for students and for staff here, but the conversation is certainly also like, how do we encourage vaccinations across the state? And so again, I just mentioned this because the work's going to certainly ramp up more and continue. And again, I think extension will be part of this effort. All right, so what is March shaping up to look like? A lot. Number one, I think it's really important, and I appreciate Lynn for putting this on my radar screen because I had no idea that March 8th is International Women's Day, which I think is really cool. And if you Google it, there's, I think it's challenge the choice or something like that. There's a hashtag that goes along with it. There's some programming that goes along with it, but just something really to think about, especially as we've all spent a lot of time thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I just want to put that on everybody's radar screen. If you didn't realize it, in 2 weeks, we have a time change, which to me seems a little bit quick. I guess I was expecting it more towards the end of the month, but daylight savings time begins on March 14th. We've already added 2 hours and 34 minutes. I do look at it every day. Again, if you didn't read my email, COVID vaccinations for people 60 and over will begin on Wednesday. What was really fun is Friday afternoon, my phone started blowing up. My aunt and uncle were able to get an appointment, and other folks who I know were able to get appointments, and it's just awesome to see that happening. This week on Thursday and Friday will be my Northeast Extension Deans and Directors spring meeting. We're doing it 2 days virtually. Also on Friday is our biennial budget hearing. There are some extension specific items in the state budget, so we'll be providing testimony on those items. I know many of you have provided testimony for other items, and again, really appreciate Extension's engagement in the process. Also in March, I'm still a board member for the Journal of Extension. Many of you have asked me questions about the journal. It at the end of 2020, it left Ohio State University, who hosted it, and went to Clemson, and also changed editors. And so it's been quite a transition, and I know several people have reached out about submissions and whatnot. I think we're getting back up and ready. So certainly if you have specific questions about the Journal of Extension, reach out to me. But we have our a 2-day spring meeting in March as well. And then certainly continued work on all of the things that I just mentioned. I think one other thing, and this goes along with the DEI work, is the President's Advisory Council on Equity, also known as PACE. When John Volin got here, this group had kind of languished a little bit because of the great kind of chaos in provosts, and we had an interim for a while and whatnot. So when John got here, he wanted to reestablish it and asked me to chair that group as well. And so we're in the process of really kind of reimagining what PACE looks like and what the provost really wants as far as an advisory council goes. So also in March, and I know some of you may laugh at this, so a 3-day all organizational meeting on Zoom, many of you may not think of as a bright spot. So let me change your tune right now. Number one, it's not 3 straight days on Zoom, 8 hours a day. It's manageable. It's 10 to 2-ish or so. There are time for breaks. There's time for lunch. So just know that, like, it's not going to be death by Zoom. Nobody needs that. Nobody wants that. A couple really cool things. The whole thing's going to be really cool. All right. So just take out the horrible experiences you've had with long Zoom meetings. Throw those out the window. This is not going to be it. And it is really awesome because we want everybody to participate. So again, clear your schedules if you're able to. Make sure you're a part of it because it is going to be very, very cool. We are going to have greetings from the president, which is awesome. The keynote address, which is going to center around this idea of change, is going to come from one of my former colleagues at the University of Florida and good friend, Dr. Matt Sauchek. The provost is going to spend some time with us and also do a Q&A towards the end of the meeting. We have some really awesome surprises in store. But then I really want to talk about the meat of the meeting because this is really focused on, again, the survey that came out last summer. I asked for volunteers. Oh my gosh, 5 committees. You see them on the slide. They've been staffed by all volunteers who have served on the committees and volunteer leaders. Administration has had nothing, zero, nada interactions. You know, I've just answered a couple questions, as have Fran, but this is you all. And again, I just want a shout out to everybody who's participated, from committee members to our leaders in this process, because it's pretty awesome when I start hearing the ideas and again, the energy that these discussions have generated. So what's going to happen when we all come together at this all organization meeting? I thought, nope. thought I had a slide. I was planning on having a slide, didn't make it. So I'll just talk about it. So what's going to happen? We are going to come together. We're going to have the keynote. And then each of the committee members, I really thought I had a slide. Hold on just a second, make it. Nope, never mind. That's what happens with my brain. So what's going to happen in our all organization meeting? So each committee is going to present, and each committee has been given 20 minutes to present, and then 10 minutes for questions and answers. After that, we are going to have a form available for immediate feedback. So you're sitting there, wherever you're interacting with the all organization meeting, you hear the presentation and you're like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. It's the best idea I've ever heard, or oh my gosh, that'll never work for whatever reason. You have the ability to enter this into a form for kind of immediate feedback on what the committee has presented. And again, it's really to capture like your initial thoughts on these committees. And then at the end of the whole meeting, so after the 3 days, we are going to release a website, and that website will have the ability for you to go in and look at each of the recommendations that each committee made, and really, and we're still working this out, really vote on it. Is it something that you'd like to see move forward in the future? Is it something you would like to never see move forward in the future? Like, what's your appetite towards whatever this idea was? And we're going to leave that open for 2 weeks. And again, it's my goal that we get as close to 100% response rate as we can, because this is only as good as how many ever people engage in it from an organizational level. I want this to be grassroots, bottom up, not top down decisions on what this organization is going to look like in the future. So once that happens, then we're going to collect all those responses, and also the committees have written reports that they're going to submit to me as well. So what I imagine and envision happening is sometime in late April, early May, is that we'd have the results from that 2-week survey. We'll have the committee reports, and what I'll probably do is ask for a new volunteer group to come together with myself and members of the administrative team to talk about what gets implemented, what we do with all of this information, and really think about how these things are implemented in the future. So again, there's lots of opportunities for interactions. Again, it's going to be after the initial committee reports during the all organization conference, and that's just going to be for your gut level. What do you think about these ideas? But then again, you're going to be able to look at them all on a list and really think about them after the meeting as well. And again, happy to answer any questions when we get to the end about what this all looks like. I swear to God, I had a slide that said all this, and somehow I may have deleted it in the midst of trying to get ready for today. So I apologize for that. So let's move on to what's happening in COVID land, just some updates, because again, that's what we focus on, seemingly. Excuse me. Weekly testing continues both here on campus and remotely. Again, thank you for everybody participating. We're learning a lot as we go. As I've mentioned, we have had some positives. With more tests will come more positives, and so we're answering questions and providing support when it's needed in regards to those positive tests. Again, if you have any questions in that regard, feel free to reach out to myself or Fran. Fran talks to Dick Young, who's head of the testing on campus once a week and more often if necessary, so we can answer those questions pretty quickly. Certainly right now, nothing has changed in regards to in-person programs, in regards to how our offices are operating or anything like that. We will reevaluate on April 1. We'll see if there's more guidance that came out or if anything's changed, but right now, there's really no in-person indoor programming. I should have mentioned it's indoor programming. We're going to reevaluate that on April 1. As we all know, there is new summer programming guidance for pretty much outdoor programming, and again, it leaves it pretty along the lines of what the Maine CDC is saying. The only thing that deviates, as I mentioned, is participant numbers. The University of Maine system is still keeping even outdoor programming to 50 or under, which is again, the CDC allows for more people. That may change. We're still waiting to hear that. One of the things that has come out from the research from the Vice President of Research office, if you've submitted something last year in regards to research or programs, and it's happening again this year, you don't have to resubmit. If it's new research, then certainly you have to go through the VPR form, and I have the link there to submit it. But if you've already submitted something for last year and you're just doing it again this year, you don't need to resubmit. We discussed this morning as an ELT. We're all looking at our HOCs to see if anything really needs to be changed in regards to the HOCs, because what we're going to ask the UMaine EOC, the Emergency Operations Committee, is if we can have the power that we had last fall to really do in-house or extension approvals that don't have to go through the whole process like they did early on in the pandemic of going through the provost and then to the president and all of that. We're going to ask for what happened last fall is where we could, if you were going to do an outdoor program, you fill out the form that was online that was really focused here in extension, and a supervisor or administrator approved it. Now there's going to be special cases to that. We know if there's a program that needs to happen across state lines, that would be something that we would have to seek additional approvals on. But if it's mostly our traditional programs, we're hopeful that we can do those in-house. Travel, I mentioned this as well, and I just want to kind of go one step further. The travel guidance came out, which really hasn't changed either. There's no out-of-state travel, and again, still no riding together in a vehicle, but we can ask for exceptions to those. And so I put this out there because, again, if you know you have something happening, if it's research, if it's a meeting or whatnot that's happening out of state, and you want me to seek additional approval, I don't mind doing that at all. Just reach out to me with the date of the travel, the purpose of the travel, why you would have to do it, why it couldn't be done virtually, those type of things. And I don't mind running it up the chain to seek approval for that. The second thing is, I know no riding in cars, that was hard, especially when we think about whether it's traveling for research or summer IPM programs, those type of things. Again, we can seek permission for people to travel together, but we just have to do so through risk management. So if you, again, know this summer that there's possibilities that either you or people that work for you would have to travel together, please email me and we'll work through trying to get permission for that to happen. I just mentioned this because, again, as I mentioned, with more testing becomes more positives. And again, I just really want people to take care of themselves if it so happens that a positive test does come back. I'm not going to lie, every time I walk out of the Collins Center, the testing process is easy, it's quick, but there's that, like, until you get the results, you're like, well, what happens? What happens if I wasn't as careful as I thought I was? Or what happens if, and so we know this, and again, we know with the new variances of COVID that spread is happening quicker and easier. So I just put this slide in here, again, found it on prevention.com. Just if you do happen to test positive, it's okay. We've got your back. We're here to support you all. And again, just remember to take care of yourself, and we will certainly get through this together. So with that, I'm going to leave, and I promise to leave enough time for questions. I haven't been monitoring the chat, but I'm going to right now as soon as I close out. I leave you with this. I mentioned Charles Maxey, who's been one of my favorite kind of illustrators on Instagram, and I think we're all doing better than we think we're doing, but some days I know it's hard to tell, but we've done it a year, and again, when we think about the work that's been done by this organization, we're certainly doing a lot better than probably anybody gives themselves credit for, so just remember that. So with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen, and we will go ahead and answer any questions. I'm going to look. John Jemison, yours, I guess I'm starting from the bottom up, but I think those are good questions to have, and so we'll see.
It's like I've already had my first shot. I had mine on Saturday, so it's gonna play a role on how we do everything, right?
Right. Yeah. No, we'll get either Fran or I will run that up the flagpole and figure out what's the impact of that. So thanks for asking that. Sue, I am the limiting factor for you not having an agenda for the all staff conference yet. And that's because I haven't confirmed a couple of topics. So it's going to be posted this week, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow or the next day. But yeah, we're going to get it to you. Sorry about that. I am, again, inbox out of control. It's no excuse, but it's the best I can do. Remember, we're doing the best we can. Yep, Michelle Snowden. Yes, more information will be coming soon. See, I'm working my way up with this. And Debbie Bouchard's had the first vaccine and has tested. So we'll figure out what that looks like.
I guess we just have to continue to be tested, correct? I tested negative too after a week of having had the first shot.
We'll get a determination because more and more folks are going to start be able to get them, and so yeah.
I think the test right now tests for the antigen and not the antibody, so
that would make sense. Fran, can you get a response to that question and then we can email it out?
Yeah, I'm actually searching my email because I had a response to that. And so I'm just looking for the formal response to that.
Well, that's awesome. We may have an answer by the end of this. Yes, thank you. But again, it's now 84 degrees in here. So again, if I turn red face or I faint, it's just because it's 84 degrees in here and I'm a little hot. So it's going to be 35 degrees below zero tomorrow. Not in my office though. Any other questions? Very quiet and subdued group on a Monday afternoon. Carla, that is travel guidance, yes, for now and through the summer. Everything that's coming out right now says, it has pretty much an asterisk saying guidance will change if new information presents itself or if there's new things to consider. So I would take the guidance that's up there for travel and feel like that would be probably what would be the travel guidance for the summer. I know there's some questions around the state, like reciprocity, like right now, is it Vermont, New Hampshire, we can still go back and forth without having to quarantine or get tests. I think there was some conversations about possibly that opening up to the other New England states, but so that may change. But right now, go with the guidance that's posted. And again, if there's any updates, we'll see. Anything else for the good of the group? Anybody have anything they'd like to share? I feel like we've never got done in extension connections this early. But that's not bad. I mean, who can't use an extra 15 minutes? That's probably me going through about 10 emails in my inbox. So. All right. I don't want to keep people here. Oh, there's no newsletter this month since last month was a short month, and there's no newsletter this month. Thank you, Lynn, for that information. I will share this PowerPoint slide set with you. I'll attach it to my Wednesday organizational email, so you'll have this information. Judges are need.
I just found a text from Dick about this. You do not need to tell the university when you're vaccinated. That was what someone asked me. Do I have to tell the university? You still need to test after 14 days post second dose. If close contact, it's a little confusing. Still need to test. So I think that's the answer for now, and then we'll get clearer.
Fran, I found a website for UMaine. I don't know if it's system-wide, but UMaine says even after the vaccination, you still need to keep testing. So I put the website in.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you all for figuring that out. So, yeah. Any Anything else? Laura mentioned judges are needed for the undergrad grad research symposium. It's all virtual, so if you have any interest in participating in that, that would be great. Anything else for the good of the organization? Hopefully we'll see you all, not hopefully, we will see you all for the all organization meeting. And again, thanks for everybody who is participating, who's worked hard on a committee. Yeah, it's going to be, as I said, it's going to be great. With that, everybody stay warm tomorrow, because I don't think there's a part of this state that is not going to be below 0. So if you need to warm up, please come to Orono, and you're welcome to use my office because it is part sauna. But other than that, please stay safe and stay warm tomorrow. I'm hopeful that there's no power outages, especially on a very, very cold day like it's supposed to be. So with that, if there's no other questions or anything for the good of the group, we'll adjourn for the afternoon. And thank you all very much. Have a good afternoon.